people, and welcome back to this week's new video. Today I will be talking about all the books that I wanted to read in 2019 and didn't get to. Books that I physically own, aka my 2020 TBR. Hopefully I will get to all of them. I believe there are only 7 books on the list, so that isn't too bad. There are of course a lot more books on my shelves that I have not read before, but these are like the top ones that I actually meant to read in 2019 and just didn't have the time, etc, etc. Without further ado, let's get into the first book. Now, these books aren't in any specific order. I just have them stacked in my room and I just went in the order that it's stacked in. It's not in any sort of specific order. The first book is Imaginary Friend by Chbosky. Ooh, that light. His last name reminds me of Robin Chbosky. I actually won this in a Goodreads giveaway and I filmed like the unboxing of it because it was really exciting. Thank you to Grand Central Publishing for sending this my way. If you didn't know, Goodreads does a bunch of giveaways. I'll link the page if you didn't know about it. I just get emails about books that they think I'll be interested in. I don't know much about this book, but I do know that Chbosky is the author of The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and that was really well-loved book, so this book was really highly anticipated. This book was long anticipated, and I think it's about 700 pages. I don't know too much about this book, actually, because it's pretty vague, except that this woman is on the run, Kate Reese. She flees from an abusive relationship, and she is basically a single mother to her son, Christopher, and Christopher suddenly disappears. He's like kidnapped or something like that, and he disappears for about a week, and then he comes back not remembering anything, but then strange things are going on that no one really can explain except for maybe Christopher. That's like what I think it's about. Because I received it in a giveaway, I want to be able to review it on Goodreads. The next 4 books are actually my books of the month. 3 of these are from November, and then this short one actually is from December, and I obviously didn't get to them. My January book of the month is on the way, so I really need to catch up. If you are interested in book of the month or didn't know what it is about, it is a subscription service where you pay like $15 every month to choose a book of the month. It is specialized. They pick 5 for you for each month that you can choose. Now you can have add-ons, and if you don't like the books of that month, you can choose another book from a different month. I've done that before, and clearly I do have a couple of them and I've enjoyed a lot of them. I just haven't read Things You Save in a Fire, but everything else I've given them all 4 to 5 stars. If you are interested, I do have a link down below. I believe you can get a discount or a free book or something like that, and that link is always down below. Getting into these ones, okay. The first one is Lisa Jewell's The Family Upstairs. I read Then She Was Gone by her and gave it 4 stars, so I figured I would want to read more by this author. Libby is 25 years old. She ordered a DNA test because she was adopted, and she finds out who her birth parents are and finds out that she actually is the sole inheritor of this mansion that is worth millions in Chelsea, which is like the super posh neighborhood in London. But actually 25 years ago, the police were called to this mansion because this baby was crying. When the police enter the home, they find this 10-month-old baby and 3 dead bodies in the kitchen. They're all dressed in black, and this creepy, messy, handwritten note left on the table. And the 4 children who actually lived in this home, in this mansion, are gone. This book, if you're hearing about it for the first time, this is probably the first video that you're watching on BookTube, but that is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This book was also really highly anticipated. Can't tell in my shelf here, but I do have the Grisha series from her. That was the first books that I read, and then I recently purchased King of Scars as well, and I really want to get to like the Six of Crows duology and blah blah blah. So I was excited to read more by Leigh Bardugo because I do enjoy her books. I don't know too much about this book except that Alex, she grew up with like a hippie mom. She's actually the sole survivor of this multiple homicide. She has been basically given a second chance, or so you can see it that way, and she's given a full ride to Yale. Now I know it involves like secret societies in Yale, and this is the first book of a series. I've heard mixed reviews. People don't like it doesn't mesh well with them, and some people are absolutely in love with it. So I'm a little scared to see how I will feel about it, but regardless, I'm excited to read a new Leigh Bardugo book. The last book of my November books of the month are Jojo Moyes' The Giver of Stars. I have read every single book by Jojo Moyes, so I can safely say that She is one of my favorite authors. I didn't know what this book was going to be about. As soon as I like even got a whiff of it and saw that it was on Book of the Month, I knew that I had to pick this one up right away. This book is, I believe it's based on a true story that takes place in the Depression era in America / Kentucky. Alice marries an American man and she moves to America to escape her life in England, but her father-in-law is actually pretty overbearing, so she signs up to be a part of this book delivery service. I think it's something that Eleanor Roosevelt started as a part of a traveling library, and it's all made up of a band of women. She meets Marjorie, who is the leader of the group, and she like doesn't take shit from any man, and she is a strong, sufficient, powerful woman. They meet 3 other women along the way, and it's sort of their journey throughout America and the drama and the dangers that they face on the road. That's all that I really know about it, but even Reese Witherspoon picked this as her book club pick of the month, so I'm really excited. And there isn't a book by Jojo Moyes that I didn't like, so I'm very excited for this one as well. For my December pick, I chose The Wives by Tarryn Fisher. It sort of reminded me of The Wife Between Us by Greer, Hendricks, and Sarah Pekkanen, which I also really enjoy. I'm pretty sure I gave that 4 or 5 stars. I didn't come up with a summary for this because I really liked the summary, the blurb, so I just wanted to read that. Imagine that your husband has 2 other wives. You've never met the other wives. None of you know each other, and because of this unconventional arrangement, you can see your husband only 1 day a week, but you love him so much you don't care, or at least that's what you've told yourself. But one day while you're doing laundry, you find a scrap of paper in his pocket, an appointment reminder for a woman named Hannah, and you just know it's another one of the wives. You thought you were fine with your arrangement, but you can't help yourself. You track her down, and under false pretenses, you strike up a friendship. Hannah has no idea who you really are. Then Hannah starts showing up to your coffee dates with telltale bruises, and you realize she's being abused by her husband, who of course is also your husband. But you've never known him to be violent, ever. Who exactly is your husband, and how far would you be willing to go to find out? And who is his mysterious third wife? That sounds really interesting. The only thing is, when I was looking up on Goodreads, this also has pretty mixed reviews. I know a lot of people were excited for this, but in the end, it was not that great. But Books and Lala, who is like a hardcore mystery thriller fan, rated it, I think, 3 or 4 stars, so that doesn't seem too bad. We're down to the last 2, which I can't really talk about the plot about because they are the last books in series. This one is We'll Always Have Summer by Jenny Han. This is the last book in the Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy. I really related to Belly in the first book, and then the second one I was like, what the heck? And now, from what I can tell, I'm just a little bit like, what the fuck? So I'm a little worried. My reviews have been going like downhill from the first and second book, so I'm a little scared. But regardless, I do want to be able to finish the series, so that is on the list. I just don't want to talk about it because it's the last book and I feel like it'll ruin the series. And then here we are with the last book on my 2020 TBR, and that is The Last Olympian by Riordan. This is the last book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. This is the 5th book. I have loved every single one of these books. I had only read the first book in middle school, and I'm not sure if I just wasn't aware that this was going to be a series or what, but I'm finally getting around to finishing the series, and I've given every single one 5 stars. I'm definitely a little scared and sad to be finishing this series. Alright, so those are all 7 books that I plan on reading throughout the year. It's only 7 out of 12 months, so hopefully I don't get too overwhelmed. Now, I do want to go over some bookish goals / resolutions that I have for 2020 and talk about those for a little. My first one is to read 150 books for the year. Specifically, that's my Goodreads goal. I just say like it's my Goodreads goal because Goodreads is a great way to help me keep track of it, stay accountable. I do have a log for it in my bullet journal, but I just like to have them, I don't know, Goodreads is also a good place to have them organized and see how other people are doing and what other people are doing and whatnot. My Goodreads is linked down below if you want to see what I have read and my past goals and whatever. So in 2018, my goal was 50 books, and in 2019, my goal was 75 books, and both years I surpassed that. I haven't been on Goodreads too long. I only started being active on it in 2018, so I don't have stats that go back very far, but I am excited because I finished off 2019 with 126 books, so I'm adding 24 more books to that. I'm nervous, and I'll definitely be a tiny bit sad if I don't make that, but I don't want to force myself into reading more books than I like can enjoy or want to. We'll see how 2020 turns out. Number 2 is to read more diversely. I've realized that most of the books that I read are by women, which is amazing. The only most memorable male authors I have read are Riordan and Stephen King. There are a couple more, but for the most part, I would say like 97% maybe are women, which is amazing. But in my most recent trip to Barnes & Noble, in which I did my December haul, which is also linked, I realized that a lot of the women authors that I were reading were white. Now, that's not saying like that's a bad thing. I really enjoy their books as well, but because I was buying a lot of books, I wanted to challenge myself to buy half white women and half POC authors. As a person of color, a minority myself, I want to be able to support those authors and also hear more own voices books. Specifically as an Asian, I also want to be reading a lot more books written by Asian authors as well. Now, this isn't specific to POC women, like I will read books written by POC male as well. I just want to be focusing more on people of color. If you have any recommendations, please let me know. I definitely will be on the hunt for them. And lastly, my third goal is to not buy any books. This goes hand in hand with my non-bookish resolution to do a no-buy month. I thought a no-buy year would be a little bit too ambitious. I heard about this idea here on YouTube actually. The name of the YouTuber is not coming to mind. I know she's a Scottish booktuber, but I'll definitely have her information, her channel linked down below. She said that you can only buy necessities, so like food and things that you can repurchase. So if I run out of shampoo, I can buy that. If I run out of mascara and it's something that I'm going to use, I can buy that, but no more clothes, you know, things like that. So that also means no books. This is obviously great for money saving reasons because I want to do a lot of traveling in 2020 with my boyfriend Coda and also with my family, but I'm going to be extending this rule to experiences as well because I'm in a relationship. I don't want to hinder the things that we can do and have that affect my relationship. I don't want my boyfriend to be paying for everything. So if we want to go to like a Broadway show that we've been talking about, or go ice skating, or visit like the Empire State Building or whatever, I'm going to allow for that. They're not things that I do very often, and you know, I want to be able to experience new things, especially in my relationship. So things like that I will allow for. They're not things that I do excessively or probably every month even. So I think that is something that I can allow for. It's definitely great to be saving money for traveling, but I also need to pay like student loans, and eventually I want to be able to move out, and it never hurts to have a little extra money lying around. I have logs in my bullet journal, as you'll see in my bullet journal video, that I have logs for expense trackers and another separate log for a monthly overview to see what I'm spending money on the most, to see how I can spend less maybe each month and compare that to what I spent in 2019 as well. There are of course plenty of books on my own shelf that I haven't gotten to, and the whole public library that I use a lot. I'm not someone who is obsessed with needing to read books, new releases right away. Like, yes, I'm going to be tracking them from now on because I want to know what's coming out and stay up to date. I don't need to read a book the day that it comes out, and the library does get new books, so I can always just get them from the library. The only book buying that I will be forgiving are books that I was planning on buying last year, and those are actually only 2, and that is Wild by K.A. Tucker and then the sequel that I want to pre-order. I do want to pre-order it because I recently watched a video by Ariel Bissett about the importance of pre-ordering and how it can support authors, so I wanted to do that. And those are really the only 2 books that I should be buying for 2020. I'm only going to be doing a no-buy month, but if it works and I see how much money I'm saving, I do want to continue that and see how long I can do that for. And yeah, that is the end of my video. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you enjoyed my content. I hope you stick around. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!